it's not too big of a group, and I just need to kind of hear who's represented in the room.
Yeah.
So will y'all tell me if I need to go around and just, okay. So just, maybe just kind of turn around or stand up, just so they can see you and say your name and who you represent.
Joe Aguilera, the Murfreesboro Planning Department. I'm here with Greg tonight, and we're going to be presenting just some information.
Donald Lester, L&L Contractors, and Bro Hollow.
Doug Duros, Marinas on the Square.
Bill Jakes Realty.
Jim Freeman, Haunted Murfreesboro.
Hey, I'm Mike Cush. I am Stephanie's dumber half. I have a real job that is in the concrete engineering business, but I'm also, I dabble in local politics here. I'm a county commissioner and on the Rutherford County Planning Commission.
So I'm Stephanie Cush. I'm on the Main Street Board and I'm with Pinnacle Financial Partners.
Mark Walker with WGNS. My wife Leanne.
I'm Betsy Carr-Hay of the Carr and the Hay family, and we've been at 24 Public Square. This is our 100th year for liquid smoking humidor. We're the second generation on this one.
I'm Nicole Dotson. I'm purchasing a building on East Main and have a business in the works.
And I'm Gloria Bonner, Main Street Board of Directors, as well as MTSU retired.
Yeah.
I'm also a young member of the board of Main Street, and also I serve the county commissioner, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Jason Cole with Cultivation Network.
And I'm the other half. I'm Jenna Cole, Cultivation Network. We're a marketing agency and we're located right down the road here. So we're members of Main Street Murfreesboro. Happy to be here.
I'm Jess Hogan. I'm the general manager of Jack Rooms.
Ooh, ate there yesterday.
Richard Sandoval, the new owner of the Bank of America building, and a new resident of Murfreesboro. So I'm Chris. This is my wife Karen from the Country Gourmet Special Gifts, Gift Baskets Gourmet Chocolates, located at 107 East Main Street in the heart of historic downtown Murfreesboro.
I'm Stacy. I hate following Chris. I'm Sugaries.
And I'm Barbara Wall and I have fun cakes.
So that one.
We got the dessert section.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Harmon, and I'm on the Main Street Board.
Randy Caldwell, I'm on the Main Street Board as well, and retired. Living the fun life.
I'm Charles Galipoli. I own Doodle's Kitchen and Bakery on Vine Street.
Welcome.
I'm Eric Lemire. This is my wife Kelsey. We're with Liquid Smoking.
All right.
Raleigh Holden,
Lee Tenpenny Heat and Air Conditioning.
And I'm Keith Beckman, Beckman's Prescription Shop. Thank you.
Well, I want to really thank Greg on our board, and he is a very important person for the city council. And he was nice to lead a presentation for Randy and I for the economic development committee. And it was, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is really enlightening. So I wanted to invite the downtown businesses to come and see, to ask questions, and we are recording it. So I will send the link out for any businesses that want to come. Great, thanks.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for allowing me to be available tonight to share with you. This is very exciting to be able to share it, but it's also extremely scary. So, the reason it's so scary is because I'm getting ready to share some information with you that has not been publicly shared. It's going to be a proposed plan that we are working with the clients on, the applicants on. And as soon as I tell you that it's going to be 2 bedrooms, somebody's going to hear 12 months from now, because this thing has changed like 7 times between now And when it actually comes in to be looked at by the planning commission or council, it's going to change 9 or 10 times. But for whatever reason, I have no idea why. The only thing people remember is this meeting we had right now. And so even though I stand up right now, recorded and everything, telling you that it's scary to tell you about some very exciting things, inevitably, when this thing comes in 12 months from now, somebody's going to call my office, call a council member, call a planning commission member, and say, Greg said on the 23rd that there was going to be 2 bedrooms, and now they're proposing 4. What is happening? Y'all are trying to hoodwink us. So I'll just go on record again. And actually, I've gotten Randy Caldwell, and I want Randy to stand up and say, yeah, Greg's telling the truth.
He's telling the truth. Before I retired, I was in the architectural, civil engineering, land planning, landscape architecture business. So he's right. I mean, we go, it's a design process, and we meet with the staff very early on, show them initial concepts. Keep in mind, I think what he's presenting is kind of a big picture. And, you know, don't get down in the weed, the detail of the weeds right there. So keep that in mind as you're going through that. You'll be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not getting in the weeds. Don't let you drag me in the weeds. But what I did want to do was wanted to share what has been proposed to the city of Murfreesboro. None of these things, none of these have gone actually to planning commission or council, but we have sat down and talked with the applicant. Some of it has been presented in a workshop to just say, hey, here's what we are looking to do, because there are so many other things attached to it. So if I can say one more time, none of these things have been submitted to the planning commission, council. None of this has been presented to them, nor has it been submitted to the actual planning department for an actual application to be looked at and reviewed. So if you could repeat after me, Greg, we understand. Yeah, so I will pull when somebody calls me from the humidor and says, hey, what's happening? I'm going to pull up the recording and pull it in and say, you remember saying I understand. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, that probably is going to last longer than my presentation. One East College is one that's been around for quite some time. One East College has gone before planning commission and council, and we've looked at this particular plan. It did get caught up in the COVID and all kinds of things happened. So we've been working on this one for a while. So I get calls on this one quite a bit on where are they and where are they in the process, and are they really moving forward. I'll give a quick update before I just rehash this one with you guys and share. They have sent their plans out to the subs for pricing. And after they get the pricing back, now they see if it still matches the budget and everything. Everything seems to still be moving along as they budgeted. They will be back in the middle of September to sit back down with the administrative staff just to share an actual Gantt chart, which has the schedule of the actual development and how they plan on developing and phasing. And then the third thing they'll do, they look to be back in October, really ready to start breaking ground. They currently have with the Building Code Department a parking structure permit. The way this is called a Texas wrap. So they actually do the parking garage first internally, and then they wrap everything around the parking structure. So they actually pulled a permit for the actual parking garage foundation first. So that actually is in building codes waiting now. The one thing, because we know what the prices did, construction prices, everything did, when skyrocketed, they put it out on the street, which means they put it out to make sure they got actual costing for it before they actually move forward. So this one's still moving forward. The next step for us is meeting with them in September, just kind of figure out what their schedule looks like moving forward. One East College. This works so well when I started. Okay. All right, One East College. I don't know if you can actually see this or not, but this actually is kind of the floor plan, which is all I'm going to show. Now I'll show you a couple of elevations, although the elevations are still, as Randy has stated, are still moving along. So if we can look at this area along Church Street, right here, this is the floor plan and how the building actually is going to lay out. I'll just give you some high level things to look at. And because, it started out, so that's what is that? North Church Street. On that side is going to have 1 floor of retail offices and 3 floors of residential. And this side right here, so along here is going to be residential and retail. The existing church will stay like it is. And right now, just looking for that to be some type of event hall or something like that, to be able to utilize that for on-site events. This location along East Lytle here. If you can see that, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's going to be 4 floors of residential in this area right here. You guys see my cursor? Okay, good deal. Of course, the swimming pool area, and I'll show the amenities package on down in the slide as well, just to show what they're proposing. 8th floor of parking garage. Like I said before, they're going to build it internally to the building, so you won't be able to see any parking at all except for the top. You'll just be able to see spaces at the very top, but everything else will be enclosed. In the middle of the building, you'll see a condo building on top of parking structure. In this floor, it's a total on the 9th floor, there's 14 units. On the 10th floor, there's 14 unit condos inside the building. On the East College Street, first floor retail, second floor office, and third floor is residential. I think that's it. You know, was something talked about, there was a 36 rooms hotel, a boutique hotel that was actually planned for this one. When the hotel industry took the hit back in COVID, during COVID, they actually pulled that out. But what they've done now is created, I know Bill and I talked about it, I was very excited to have a boutique hotel downtown. What they've done is done a 36 unit flex space, and what it is designed to do is to be able to insert that hotel back in once they're able to find a boutique hotel. Most often what we see and what we hear about, flags are about 100 and 150 units and higher for flags, you know, Embassy, Marriott's, all those guys is 100 and 150 above, and the boutiques are a little bit lower than that. So, but there will still be 36 units in here that either go condo or back to the boutique hotel. So it's not, the hotel is not out of reach. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Yep.
The parking, is it public parking, including and residential?
Yeah, it'll be public and residential. There will be around 100 public, 150 public parking spaces, because in that building, of course, what we want to do is make sure, and I'll talk a little bit about a downtown parking study. We want to make sure that we have inventory for downtown as well as to be able to park. Our main objective is to make sure they're able to park their facility so that they're not spilling over into public parking. But we did ask them to put extra parking in for public parking.
Excellent, thanks.
Is that different from what it used to be? Didn't it go up around the church before?
It is. So there's again, so Bart's already starting. So, so that was the fourth iteration. Yeah. So you know, and one of the things you look at when you start looking at infrastructure, you start looking at all kinds of stuff. There's so many things that go into it. You know, we looked at on this East College project when MTE. When Middle Tennessee Electric went to the MTE project, right? They became one unit. Murfreesboro Electric and Middle Tennessee Electric became one unit. Where on the Middle Tennessee Electric side, the easement was 10 feet, which fit this. Middle Tennessee Electric's easement is 40 feet. And so when you start getting into those things, it starts impacting all kinds of stuff. So again, I say definitely, Bart, it has and will continue to. This one won't look any different, but this is the one that came back to council, came back to planning commission and council for an amendment, but it added some units to it. So, but yeah, the first one we looked at was different.
I might have just one quick question to ask about this. So we're doing some upgraded structure, and we're just like right across the street from that. We're doing some updates to outside of our building. And I guess it's my understanding too, is they've got to get to bedrock, wherever that is, low enough to hit solid rock. As we've done some of our plans and start to kind of pour new concrete structures out there, I worry about it cracking, things like that. And I know I've got insurance set up to kind of buffer against that. And I mean, I'm just kind of pointing that out because I know that you don't have control over that. Really.
But what we did do, we met with, what's the church beside the Presbyterian? I think you might have been there, Mr.
Yeah.
We met with them, and they're going to do this is what these guys do. They do it between buildings. They do it downtown Nashville. They build these structures between buildings. They know what they're doing. They'll put monitors on the buildings to make sure and monitor how it's impacted, how any hole rimming and if they're already in blasting is going to impact the buildings. And that's one of the things they shared with the Presbyterian Church, that they would make sure that they were monitoring and seeing how that impact happens.
Makes me feel better.
Yeah, and you know, these guys have done everything they've said they were gonna do, so we don't have any reason to believe that they wouldn't. And so there's the guys that do the parking structures, that's what they do. Then they bring the guys in to do the residential, that's what they do. So it's not like one person trying to be specialist in everything.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but even when it comes in, there's an opportunity for you to talk to them, they'll be willing to do it. This is an awesome thing, but you know what I talk about most and what I have to work with most is the high grass. I get more calls about the high grass than anything on this project, so.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be annoying in this meeting. I don't know about any other businesses, but I know that the plumbing situation on the square can be a little iffy sometimes. How is that going to be?
Yeah, I think there's gonna be two different things, and I'm not an expert plumber or infrastructure at all, but what I do know is there's a difference when these guys have to come in and they'll have to redo some main lines. They'll have to go in and redo like the main trunk lines and things like that, not really the supply lines to the building, but they'll have to redo and beef up everything they're doing because of the 191 residential units that's going to be in the building. So it'll be a whole different animal for them as it relates to electrical and plumbing, water and sewer, all that will be different, so, yeah.
Okay.
I don't mind the questions. Nobody's trying to pull me in the weeds yet, I'm perfect.
Well, then I can't help but ask you. Of the 191 units, how many of those are apartments?
Yeah, so I think I just showed.
We got 28
36.
high-end condos up top.
Yeah.
And we've got 36 that I don't see in this elevation here, 36 that could be flex
The
space.
remainder is apartment.
That's all apartments?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that high rise is 10 stories? Is that right?
9.
9, okay. I thought I heard you say 10 stories somewhere. along
Yeah, I
the way.
didn't call it out stores. I tried to stay away from that.
I would assume they're going to sell this off to some other management company to handle these apartments. I wouldn't imagine they're in the business of managing apartments.
The guy we're working with, Bill, has been, I mean, he's the guy, he's not like somebody, he's working for somebody. He's been the guy that's been funding it, the guy that's been sitting down with us and managing. I have no idea. I know it's the business of what they do, but he hasn't indicated to us at all in that regard.
But the only reason I press this question is that, I can't help but fear some corporate entity that owns 120 some odd units in our downtown that we as citizens really don't have a whole lot of say over. That's a big concern for me. I was hoping that the majority of the project would be condominiums, where we have individual owners. But nevertheless, thank you for that answer, and I'll let you keep going.
Okay, no problem. East College sides, I'm just showing you guys some of the side elevations.
Do you happen to know the income level for the apartments yet? That it's gonna be?
Apartments in Murfreesboro, what we've seen, they're leasing from $1,800 to $2,200. So I think this is probably going to be in that realm as well. Maybe increase the condos. Those we're selling somewhere around $350,000 or $400,000. So it's going to run right in line with most of the development in a medical center with those high-end apartments and things like that. So. Just to look at how the amenity, what amenities are going to be provided: swimming pool, pool deck, dog walk, a grilling area, patio, balconies, overlooking the balcony, and first floor retail. Kind of looking at through here. And that's just some more numbers. What Bart pulled out before was original PUD was 156, and now we're at 191. So that's what Bart, when it was a 156, it was set up one way, and then now when it came back for the amendment, which is this proposed PUD, 191 units, residential floor area, square footage. So potential conversion residential to hotel 36. Go down.
Yeah, hold your cursor right there about the rooftop restaurant. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's a proposed rooftop restaurant, 2,500 square feet.
36.
Yeah, so it's a proposed rooftop restaurant. Comes out on about the 4th or 5th floor. That's where the restaurant's proposed to be in there. It's one of the things we really, the hotel and the rooftop restaurant is one of the things we really pushed for the city. Thought that would be a great downtown asset. So there will be an opportunity for a restaurant to be in this plan.
Brandon, how do you convert? I don't understand the conversion thing. How do you, if they're apartments or whatever, how do you convert those into hotel rooms?
Yeah, those will be a larger one bedroom, and then they'll have those available to move some walls around, but not have to impact the actual low bearing walls. So inside those areas, you're able to move them around and do whatever you want to inside the actual space.
So they would just be very large hotel rooms?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, split them in half. It just depends on how they lay them out. But they can lay those out. You know, what we're seeing now, just a great example are the apartment complexes that had 4 bedrooms. We're seeing them go in now because they don't have to do anything to the outside of them, and figure those down to 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, and take them away from student housing back into a nicer hotel. So they can do that inside the walls. They can do some pretty good stuff.
Could you explain a little more about the police precinct?
Absolutely. There will be a police presence on East College inside in there. I think they've asked for a 500 or 600 square foot space for them to be present, not only for this development, for downtown. And so they'll be there doing paperwork. They'll be housed there. Right now, during the day, they're actually in City Hall. They're in City Hall as well. But once they get this built, they'll move into that area of control. And so about a year ago, they came to City Hall. They have a golf cart. So every now and then they'll get out and patrol the square. And once that gets built, they'll move into this area. Good. Everybody good on that one? This one is a proposed development. This one is off of Church Street and Broad Street at the corner of Church and Broad. This one is going to be a pretty neat development as well. This right here, by all means, is a proposed development. This elevation has already changed since I walked from my office. Don't mind. I think this looks pretty nice, but there were some opportunities for the elevation on Broad Street to not be as high and have some different roof structures on it, roof design on it. So seriously, this is already changed already. So I just want to give you the concept of what's happening.
Where's the date reading?
What street though, is this, we're still on this?
This one, that's Church Street
Church Street there, okay.
and then Broad Street.
Okay.
Car lot, UGO and
WGNS.
Okay.
The city's proposing a bridge along
Thank
this, right?
Yeah, I'll show you in another site plan.
I'll need that one with the arch at the top.
Yeah.
I just put this slide in, guys, just to show you that there's, the bottom study talks about this type of development in this area. The bottom study that was done back in 17, I think it was, talks specifically about mixed use downtown and how that study was spent tons of money on how we plan out the downtown area. And it speaks volumes, and it speaks directly to this mixed use that's going to be going on Broad Street side. So I just threw that in as a point of reference. I think I should have every other slide said proposed. Just know what Randy said. So right now, the building one, this area right here currently proposed that we're just meeting with the applicant about is 155 apartments in this side. That's the Church Street side. If you look at and also the legend right there. Building 2, which is building 2 right here is another 159 apartments proposed. and then a hotel under, right now it shows a 50 key, 40 key hotel, and eventually that'll be a 100 key hotel right here. And then all of these residential units will change. We do know that those are going to change actually. So that's just a proposed, when we first started sitting down, but those residential units, there'll be condos. Condos have been added to this one, and the condo count has been increased into the 80s as well. So that's going to be a part of this. And also what's going to change about this is how this actually is structured. Well, we do know that, individuals that are buying condos might want to have a condo area by themselves with just the condos instead of being intermixed with apartments. So that's going to change just plain drastically as well. So there'll be retail on the bottom, on the Church Street side. On here, there'll be a restaurant. I'm sorry, on the Church Street side, there'll be a retail. There's going to be a restaurant on this side, as well as other retail space in this area as well. The parking garage actually already is going to move. And actually the pool area is going to be on the Broad Street side with cabanas that you will see from the Broad Street side. So I'll come back. What I'd like to do, if I could, I just want to let you guys know what's being proposed and what the thought is for the area. And once we get back to where these are really becoming more, coming hard and coming more of an actual plan, to come back in and show you what.
Can you show us the parking for that? I can't see where. all
Yeah,
the
so right now
parking-
what's proposed, good question. Right now what's proposed is going to be an actual parking garage, a 3-story parking garage, and then surface parking. One of the things that's very important to us when we're meeting with the applicants is to make sure that the actual uses get parked. And so if you have a mixed use, you have restaurants, you have retail, that what we do is we actually sit down, and I think there's a breakdown in here, but it shows that the Hope Restaurant is so many square feet, and we make sure it's parked. Retail space is parked, and then the residential is parked as well. So what we want to do is create a great opportunity for some nice, exciting things to come downtown, and then parking goes crazy if it's not being parked. No one wants to come down because the parking's out of control. So,
Is there any thought for any of the apartments for subsidized housing, or is this all going to be high end?
it's all going to be high end, proposed to be high end. Although what we have done is, what we did do is ask these guys, how does that work? How are you guys doing that in other areas? Are you doing it in other areas? They're open for the conversation. I don't know that this development will be that, but it will be a great conversation for some other opportunities in Murfreesboro. They do have opportunities that they've done in other cities. I don't know that it'll be in this.
You explain, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to ask, with the restaurants and retail spaces, are those going to be corporate, or are they going to be open to locally owned?
Open to locally owned. Yeah, and one of the things that's a good thing, and also one of the things we work on is most often the residential comes first. And I see Planning Commissioner Halliburton in the back. What we see is the residential comes quickly, and then the retail is what we actually is the opportunity for us to fill. These guys on the Broad Street side are bringing some of that retail with them. I went to a conference in Vegas, and that's one of the reasons I went there, was to make sure we could start making partnerships, getting some partnerships with retail, not to push any locally owned out, but it also generates traffic for everybody if we can start getting some other retail downtown. So, but locally owned, anybody that wants to talk to these guys, I got a contact. If you're saying, hey, I might want to be in there, I'll give you the contact to the architect so you can have a conversation with. Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to make sure I know where you're at. In here, is that Vine Street to the, is that where the city center is and all, and yeah, that's Vine
Right
Street.
here is the Civic Plaza Library.
Right, okay, that's where I thought you was, but I just wasn't sure.
The NHC building at this corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Front Street or Vine Street, right?
Right.
And then Church Street.
Yeah, all right, I know where you're at.
Yeah.
So I was going to kind of ask the same thing. So where is, in relation to this map, where is the, where's the McDonald's and then that empty lot? Will that be part of the new development, and then the pedestrian bridge, will it be in that area?
Let me get to a slide with it. Yeah. So McDonald's here,
Okay,
city's lot, the empty city lot here,
right.
where the fences around it. Pedestrian bridge here,
Okay.
which it will be the responsibility of this developer to put that pedestrian bridge in here. We actually have also asked them if they would not put a pedestrian bridge across Church Street here, but they would give us a foundation for a future one to go there as well. You know, Murphy Springs runs down through here, open. And I don't want to get in too far into this, but eventually Murphy Springs goes under Church Street and actually runs underground through here, like this, Town Creek. And actually, there's plans to open that up and daylight that as well. So that's why we've asked these guys to put the pedestrian walkway here so we can take advantage of this Town Creek space here.
Any projected time frame?
Town Creek has been designed right now. This area right here is being designed right now. These guys, these guys have to go through all the planning, all the council. They have to go through all of that right now. This is just now saying, hey, is it something we can do? What do we need to do zoning wise? What is the architecture going to need to look like? They sit down, and every project does this with planning department. They'll sit down and say, hey, this is what we do. We have 35 meetings, 40 meetings a month where we do this and just sit down and say, hey, what do we need to do to get these in place? And then we try to get them in order and take it to the planning commission for the planning commission to actually take a look at it, vote on it, give us feedback or send them back or whatever it is. And then just goes through another whole process. This is a PU, this will be a plan development, which is a plan unit development, which will take 5 months for them to just get through all the processes of planning commission and council to get through.
Are they required to make it a LEEDs building or green space or anything to?
We don't know, we don't require them to do it. Most of these guys are in this, you know, they'll do leaves, they'll do the green. They'll do whatever is going to make this building as progressive as it can. But after the LEEDs program came out, there were some questions whether that really was worth the squeeze.
Okay.
So to follow up on her question, in your expertise, what's the probability? And is this a 5-year, 10-year down the road kind of thing?
No, this is trying to get through council, getting through planning commission and council and seeing how it works. So they're ready to go.
So these guys have money.
Yes. But you know, the good part, we've been sitting down with the guys that are financing and building. So we sit down with GC, the money guys. And so they're ready to go. Right now, what we're doing now is circling back with them on some other items. And then we'll get ready to try to get the planning commission and council for them to take a look at.
So optimistically, a year, you could say groundbreaking?
Optimistic.
Okay.
What kind of track record do they have?
They build in Nashville, Parkville, Brentwood. They build in a large one in Brentwood. So these guys have a very good track record in what they do. So they're really good. And you know we meet with, on the economic development side, we meet with people all the time that's got the best things since sliced bread. And you can tell within about an hour and a half if they're the cat's meat hour or not. By the time they get finished talking, and then they ask the city for some money or ask the city for some land or something. But these guys have been straightforward and actually pushing us to say, hey, how quickly can we get moving?
On that note, isn't some of that city land, isn't that where the water department is? And
yeah, and so that's going to be the other part of that is working through planning commission and council just to see, you know, if they're okay to sell that or how do we want to approach selling it. You know, we'll do a memorandum of understanding with this developer. There'll be a lot of things that go into it, purchase agreements and all kinds of things. So it'll take some time to make sure that's what we want to do once everything happens.
so that phase would happen before that phase.
This phase?
Correct.
Yeah, the planning, the council has already approved these guys moving to another location already. So they'll be exiting that regardless.
The water department
will be moving to a new location, which was already planned a long time before these guys got here. We needed some more space.
Question. How is this going to affect traffic?
Great question. So right now there's about 35 or 38,000 cars that go down Broad Street today. Through here. one of the things we're going to do is on this side of Church Street is we're going to add two turning lanes here. We're going to add 2 more lanes on Broad Street. One of the things that actually backs up Broad Street is because the turning lane is actually a lane. And so that backs up. We'll have a turning lane on Broad Street, proposed turning lane on Broad, off of Broad onto Church to keep that turning lane traffic moving and the through traffic moving forward as well. So there'll be some things done in this intersection right here, in this intersection, and in this intersection to try to keep the traffic moving.
Right, but where Vine Street meets Broad across. If you
Broad Street.
go back one slide. You have an aerial map of the intersection. Right there. So if you come west on Vine Street.
Right here.
Right, there's no traffic light there.
That's gonna be redone as well.
Okay,
And
because
there will be a traffic light there. So that front street will be realigned.
would it make more sense to make Church Street a one-way?
You know, I'll get to that. It's a great question. We're currently doing a parking study downtown. That's going to talk about all that. And I'll give you the goals that we have set up for that parking study. I won't get into what all it's doing, but it's going to look at whether we make one-way traffic on Church, whether we make one-way traffic on Light Oak Spring. It's addressing all of that right now. The parking study is in the works right now.
Okay,
great. Other questions?
And is the creek daylighting, is that, like, if you read the news, that's happening? Is that
Yeah.
happening?
It's happening. It's in design right now. So it's in design to see how it. So it's like, I hear it's one of the wettest creeks we have in Murfreesboro, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, so the design is currently in process right now. There's also not only the design, but there's also a constraints. There's constraints test is being done on the bottoms area as well, which basically says, you know, how do we need to organize different developments when they come in and things like that. So
Did the city acquire all the properties that?
in the process of working through that right now.
Can you tell us anything more about that green space? I mean, I'm sorry, I haven't read any news.
As in just what it's.
Plans, yeah, like what?
Yeah, just more active space. The design is really for it not just to be somewhere you go and leave, but to actually attract people as a destination. So it's going to be opened up where you can actually interact with the creek, but then have the active green space areas for to sit down and read books or walk your dog or do whatever, not just somewhere to interact like the Greenway, but actually be a destination. We're really looking at this is Longhorn right here and here, that when it gets to the back of Longhorn, it actually opens up with a water feature and all kinds of things. So, yeah.
I can say something good about that. I mean, that was a big idea that came out of the historic bottoms land use study. And there's some people who were involved in that as part of that. So that's an idea that came out, got implemented in the plan. And I really give the city credit because that's a tough thing to actually implement and go to and purchase the property and kind of soften that edge of Broad Street. And really, you know, in comparison to the hard edge, it's going to be created with the buildings there. It's really going to create more of a downtown feel, you know, there. So, but that they're following through on a huge recommendation that came out of that study.
Yeah. Yeah, and Randy's right. That study has guided a lot of what's happening downtown right now.
Since the city closed the public parking lot across from the old police department on the 1st of this month, what are you planning on developing there?
Yeah, there'll probably, good question, Bart. There'll be something proposed with this. Bart's talking about that NHC parking lot here. The NHC actually is actually parking in. That's why it was closed. They actually were parking in there. But in this area right here, right across from the Civic Plaza, something will be there, a part of this development as well.
With all of this redevelopment, how are we to handle the homeless population that generally lives there? Especially with the.
In the parking.
Yeah, in the parking area and also where the open creek.
Probably this part, the after them feeding at 435,
Yeah.
that's currently under the parking structure right now.
Yeah.
is where they're actually meeting now. And then from there, we get calls about it a lot, there are other churches, some other opportunities that we're trying to get them married up with. So that you can do a holistic approach instead of, 10 people feeding all over. We just try to share that another entity's doing that and try to get them connected.
Awesome.
Some of the elevations on this one as well. This one's already changed again. As I was standing here, I got a text. That's the Church Street side. That's the side going up toward Civic Plaza. Building Broad Street side. Some of the things we looked at on the Broad Street side are just the elevations of the roof. Broad Street, so that's showing how you get in between the buildings. Through here. So pretty neat. Amenities. Not the same exact amenities, but what the format: pool, plazas, clubhouses, outdoor seating. Any more questions on that one? Broad Street.
I wonder, so when you take the buildings down to Daylight Town Creek, that's going to, you're beautifying one side of the street, but this is going to really kind of uncover the heavy industrial side of Broad over there. You've got the metal recycling, Hoover Supply, and home building products. Does the city plan to sort of give any kind of overlay or incentives or for redevelopment of that area?
It's already an opportunity zone, Bill.
Yes.
It's already an opportunity zone, but one of the things that our design guidelines are currently doing with that, it actually helps the other developments that are coming in already to start breaking those areas up to standards. So that where the buildings are will be green space. So there'll be a sidewalk, and then it actually will be green space, and then it will expose the industrial side. We've seen some really nice things in Huntsville in this industrial area that they have really softened the industrial area with the other developments that are coming in with landscaping, with different type of uses. Breweries are loving to go in these areas. But yeah, we believe we're able to soften that. Clark Iron and Metal is going to be tucked away. It's going to be Clark Iron and Metal. But we believe coming to the, south, coming away from them, we'll be able to soften those areas up and intermingle.
And this may just be a general question, but does heavy industrial zone allow for residential in our zoning guidelines? I know a lot of commercial residential is automatically approved, but
most of the industrial no, but what happens mostly in these guys will come into a plan development, and the plan development will be their zoning for that area. So that's how we actually able to get them to interact a lot more. We're able to help allow the developments to be more compatible in the area to a plan development, and that becomes their actual zone.
so I know like in Nashville, you've got Houston area and stuff like that, where what was industrial becomes like your artist community, of more affordable housing because it's not connected to the downtown, but it's close enough.
Yeah, to the downtown. And this is, as Randy stated, the bottom study has already walked us all the way through this, and how this interacts, and the zoning and what needs to happen as it relates to zoning. So great, great question. Other questions?
With the opening up of the creek and me growing up in San Antonio, has there been any talk of a river walk of some type? Because just so you know, the river walk in San Antonio was originally a drainage ditch. Now it's through.
I think that's a thought that we're really looking at. It. A lot of thought, a lot of studies are being put into the design of that. And that's really what the design. How do we open up the opportunity for it not just to be an opening, but to encourage other development to come down and interact with it. So yeah, that's the design. And then the bottom study speaks. It's the bottom study talks about entertainment district. It talks about art district. It talks about all kinds of districts in that bottom area that goes well with that, with the opening of Town Creek. So it's not just it's not just opening it up. It's going to open up, and then it's going to lay back and have some character to it. So it's not just going to be something you go down and look at. It's going to open up and be something you can actually sit by every day. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. I got one more thing I'll show you, and so This is the, proposed, and it's so proposed, it doesn't even have a name or any numbers on it. Oh, did I mention to say that all of these are proposed? If I failed to do that, I just want to make sure. This is the Bank of America project. It's another proposal that's coming downtown as well. The Bank of America area right now. Currently just sitting down with the owner and the applicants right now, just to say, what does it look like? You know, what does parking look like? What does the utility easements look like? What am I going to need to do? What will I need to do for electrical? What do I need to do for water? So that's where we are on all of these. But this is a proposal. This is Chaplett's. If you guys know where we are, this is Church Street. The development I just talked about is here. And so a storefront retail commercial facing Church Street. And actually in this one, you can't see it, but there's actually a proposed walkover that will go over top of this area right here and go to another storefront retail and condominiums right here. And then a proposed parking garage here, 3-story, 4-story parking garage, and then possible hotel. This is just what can we do in the area. So that's what we're working through right now. There's a lot of moving parts that actually have to happen for this to even happen. But we do know the Bank of America has been involved, and there's some other opportunities through here that has to work out. But I thought I'd share that with you to say, share this is what's being proposed. Something will go there. This will happen. It's just a matter of how much of it will happen at this particular time. So that's the Bank of America. So that's another probably another 100 or so hotels downtown Murfreesboro, some more condominiums, some more condos as well.
Is it possible that all three of these will be under construction at the same time?
It is very possible that these could be on the project. It is. And so one of the things that's a very good point here. The other thing is once they submit the plans, they also have to submit construction plans and how they're going to handle construction traffic. All of those things will be something that we sit down and talk about. We met with Middle Tennessee Electric probably about 2 months ago for the same question. So somebody asked about plumbing. So if one East College is tearing up the street for plumbing, and then a month later, Broad Street comes in and tears up the street for plumbing, and then a month later, Bank of America comes in and tears the street up for plumbing. So we met with Middle Tennessee Electric. We'll meet with CUD and Water Resources, and actually currently there's a master plan being done for the entire downtown, so that we can do, if we need to take lines under the street, that we're doing that all at one time, and knowing that these other projects are going to come into play.
So are you saying that these utility lines along College, which is the only street downtown that has utility poles, are going to be buried?
Yeah. So what's your name?
Doug.
Doug's trying to get me. That was good though, Doug. I like that. You didn't say anything. You didn't say anything
first, and you said burying them.
You didn't say anything about elevations. You just kind of stick that way in on it, right? Yeah, that's good. I like that. So seriously, we looked specifically at behind your business. We really did. And so Middle Tennessee Electric has already been looking at that. I have no idea what their plan is. I do know that it is on their radar. And because of right behind, not behind your building, but I think in another area, there's like a cluster of everything running together on one pole that is like, looks like a Christmas tree.
Well, this one right here, it's about to fall.
And so I do know that it's on their radar. Sarah texted me today about it. I would reach out to, I'll give you a name after this meeting, because I want everybody to have it. For you to call and see how to handle. When we were talking about master planning, electrical, and going around on Lytle Street, College Street, all of that stuff, Middle Tennessee Electric pulled this one up on GIS, where you're talking about. So I do know that. You know, they say they didn't do it. I'll say I don't know what Doug's talking about. Yeah, but yeah, I'll give you a number for you to call.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Other questions?
Let me be sure I understand on that orchid looking building over where Shacklett's is. Is that a new building that goes on out and covers the green space?
Yes, it'll cover the green space.
And there will be a roof walk
There'll be a
through.
walkover, hose walkover, go over here that actually goes to this building.
How tall will that building be?
I think that building is 4 stories.
4 stories over the green space.
Yeah, some really neat stuff happening in this area right here. It's gonna be some really neat stuff. I didn't want to bring that and change, but this is gonna be another great development as well. It's going to interact well. We talked a lot about, you know, the other thing is when you start doing developments downtown, you also start looking at, you know, how do you make them compatible with the other buildings in the area? How do you do all those kinds of things? And every owner we've talked to, every architect we've talked to, they've all said, hey, we want to make sure that these buildings fit, that these buildings are actually not standing out in the downtown area. We haven't gotten there's no pushback on any of those, and they're asking what do we need to do architecturally to make things happen. You know, we looked at this building, it's going to be like right beside the building. No pushback at all on how we can make that building fit. And then for this development not to be cut off from Church Street is a proposed walkover so that you can actually have that interaction and try to keep that synergy between.
Is it okay for me to mention that our design committee at this point? Yeah, and we've talked with the city, you know, Main Street has a design committee, and that's something that I chair as well. So they're going to give us an opportunity to have input through the process as well, kind of on the front end, so that they don't get so far out that they don't do things like what Greg's asking for. But they're very much on the same page as what we are as far as wanting something that's compatible with the downtown, and it fits in context with the surrounding buildings and the land uses.
Yeah.
So we're excited about Greg giving us the opportunity more to be a part of that.
And, you know, we don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, but I do believe there's some opportunities on the front end to have some suggestions made, and everybody have an opportunity to talk about it and discuss it. You know, everybody that, you know, won't get everybody doesn't get what they want, but at least to be able to have a dialogue is what we're okay with.
And that was front and center. I mean,
Yes,
that's
absolutely. Yeah.
as visible as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
With maybe 3 projects going on about the same time, what about impeding the traffic flows for the downtown
Absolutely.
businesses?
We're
And
gonna
how
be
is
very-
that going to be?
We'll be very sensitive to that. And one of the things we do, I came to the city of Murfreesboro and did all of our construction for the city of Murfreesboro. And one of the things we always do is we always ask for a construction plan, how you know, traffic flows. We actually set the plan on how it actually happens with the general contractor. So they don't just get to come out and start building. You know, we in East College, there was a long discussion about what days would you block the street off. How many times, I think Mr. Beckman, his question in the neighborhood meeting was just that. And so there'll be times when they can block it, but they can't block it for 2 or 3 days. They have to block it and clean it back up. And then we talk about where do you lay down yard, where do you keep your materials? All of that has to be the plan as a part of the construction plan. We know that the downtown doesn't need to stop functioning. Although these exciting things happen, there's still livelihoods that we have to make sure we protect. And then we're okay for calls to come in and say, hey, this road is dirty. I can't keep my customers are complaining about it being dirty, and we'll send inspectors out to make sure it's cleaned up. The good part about it, all these guys do this stuff. They do it downtown Nashville. They do it downtown. So it's not, you know, like sending just anybody out to do it. These guys, this is what they do. Other questions?
The one thing on doing all of these projects at one time, when you talk to them, when you say, where are you going to put all of your material? Are you going to, as a part of it, where the people working on the project will park?
Yeah, all of that's a part of it. It's all a part of it. Just, you know, Lyle, I thought the judicial building, you know, it's pretty impactful to the downtown and Lyle Street. But all of that will be talked about and how, you know, it's a lay down yard, it's parking. And so these guys will build it where they park on the site as much so they can, and then they'll park under the parking garage. They'll figure out how to make the parking happen without taking up other public parking spaces. Well, either you guys are just gonna make up whatever you want to about this, or I actually shared. Let's see if I can show you one more thing. This is the downtown parking study goal. Joe, I think this all worked out. I think earlier. So I talked about a parking study. Sarah, are we okay with time? This will take me like 5 minutes. I talked about their, Neil Schaefer is currently doing a downtown parking study. I just want to share with some of the goals that we're actually working on and taking a look at. The first thing is manage parking demand. Managing parking demand basically says, where's the real parking demand? We believe that there's really not any parking downtown. Somebody's going to kill me when I say this or throw something at me, but they're actually, during the day, our city parking garage is only about 30% capacity. And so there's probably 1,000, 1,500 parking spaces that's in that city parking garage during the day. And at night, of